Why Good People Are Idiots. Fyodor Dostoevsky. The Idiot, The Price of Kindness. What if the world doesn't reward kindness, but punishes it? In this deeply emotional journey through Dostoevsky's The Idiot, we meet Prince Myshkin, a man whose pure heart becomes his greatest weakness in a society built on pride, control, and manipulation. Through betrayal, rejection, and misunderstanding, we explore how modern society often mocks sincerity and turns compassion into a mistake. But this is not a tragedy about being too kind, it is a mirror for us all. Can we remain human without losing ourselves in the chaos? If you've ever felt like your kindness has been mistaken for weakness, this video is your reflection. Stay with us as we uncover the inner strength needed to live kindly in a world that doesn't always understand it. When kindness is seen as a mistake. There is a painful paradox in modern society. When you're excessively kind, you are not admired, but looked down upon. This is precisely the opening question Dostoevsky poses in The Idiot. Why is someone who is purely good considered an idiot? Prince Myshkin is not a fool. He is intelligent, emotionally deep. And above all, possesses a level of compassion so pure it seems unreal. Yet it is precisely this purity that makes him a misfit in a world that is cold, calculating, and rife with deceit. The people around him don't know how to treat him. They grow suspicious, take advantage of him, or try to change him. And when they fail, they scorn him. Dostoevsky did not write this story as a lament. He wrote it as a warning: if you are good, you will pay a price. But at the same time, it is a challenge to the reader. Will you choose to harden yourself to survive, or will you keep your inner light burning even when misunderstood? Here, the question is not, why does kindness get hurt, but rather, what will you do when the world fails to understand your kindness? This is not weakness, it is a conscious choice. One that demands inner strength and the ability to stand firm amidst the storm. The train that returns Myshkin to a world of traps. The story doesn't begin in a place filled with light, but in a gloomy train compartment bringing Prince Myshkin back to Russia, a powerful metaphor for the journey from healing back into a land of schemes, suffering, and untamed instincts. After a long stay in a Swiss sanatorium for his epilepsy, Myshkin emerges as a soul newly cleansed from silence, now entering a place that offers no mercy. On the train, he meets two men who are in stark contrast to himself: Rogozin, who has just inherited a massive fortune and is obsessed with Nastasia Filipovna, and Lebedev, a petty, cunning man who bends the truth for personal gain. Neither believes a person like Myshkin could truly exist, sincere, forgiving, and with no self-interest. From that moment, the audience is introduced to the world Myshkin is about to enter, a society where kindness is not only out of place, but dangerous. When he arrives in St. Petersburg, Myshkin receives no warm welcome. He goes to the house of General Yapankin, a distant relative, and it is there that the stage for psychological tragedy begins to unfold. He meets Aglaya, the youngest daughter. Intelligent and sharp-witted, who will later stir deep emotional turmoil within him. But more importantly, he is about to encounter Nastasia, a woman who has been abused, deeply wounded, and caught in a self-destructive loop. The train is not merely a physical journey. It symbolizes a freefall from the calm inner world into a harsh reality. In a society that values power, money, and possession above all, someone who comes bearing only a naked heart, with no armor, is the easiest to be devoured. But from there, a quiet question begins to surface. Can someone truly good survive, and awaken something, in a world full of traps like this? Unconditional kindness, purity taken for granted. When Prince Myshkin enters the social life of St. Petersburg's aristocracy, he brings with him not only a whole heart but something society deems foolish, unconditional kindness. No hidden agenda, no calculations, no expectations of return, he approaches others with pure affection and deep compassion. And yet, this very trait leads him to be misunderstood, taken advantage of, and even despised. Nastasia Filipovna is the first to react strongly to this kindness. She is not someone easily wounded in a fragile way, but someone so profoundly hurt that she has lost all faith in others. Groomed and manipulated by a wealthy nobleman since childhood like a living plaything, she developed a fierce defensive mechanism. Suspicion, contempt, and defiance. And when Myshkin, a man entirely sincere, shows affection, she cannot accept it. Deep down, she believes she doesn't deserve such purity. To her, kindness is not a gift, it is a threat. At a party where Nastasia is publicly treated like an object of emotional auction, a wealthy man boldly offers 100,000 rubles to marry her. In response to this humiliation, she doesn't stay silent. She takes the money, throws it in his face, and rejects him outright. But what's even more surprising is that Myshkin rises, not to judge her past, not to ask what she will become after that night, but simply says, "I love you. I want to marry you, for no other reason." But this proposal doesn't move her. It terrifies her. Because she has never seen herself through the eyes of someone truly kind. And the truth is, pure kindness can be painful to those who don't believe they are worthy of receiving it. In society's eyes, Myshkin's actions are madness. And to those seeking gain, his compassion is the fastest road to being exploited. Even people like Aglaya, who has feelings for him, cannot respect someone who continues to live in ideals, who doesn't resist, who doesn't fight back, who doesn't protect himself. They don't understand that for Myshkin, love and forgiveness are not strategies, they are part of his being. But precisely because he has no strategy, he is drawn into whirlpools where kindness ceases to be a light, and becomes a fatal weakness. And from here, the tragedy begins to unfold, step by step. When morality is no longer a weapon for survival. The world to which Myshkin returns is not one where kindness is honored. It is a society where morality no longer holds practical value, where people are not measured by compassion, but by their ability to obtain what they want, regardless of who they must step on. Within this context, Dostoevsky does not merely tell a touching story about a good man, he conducts a profound dissection of human society itself. Does morality still matter in a world where self-interest reigns supreme? Myshkin, with all his gentleness, patience, and forgiveness, enters a game whose rules he does not understand. And that is no minor flaw. In this world, if you do not understand the rules, you become the sacrificial pawn. He does not react when insulted, does not get angry when taken advantage of, does not resist when deceived. To those embedded in this society, such behavior is not seen as compassion, but as unbelievable naivety. Aglaya, the intelligent, sharp-witted young woman who has feelings for Myshkin, cannot endure this weakness. She needs a man with firm opinions, one who knows how to be angry, to defend himself. But Myshkin does none of that, not because he cannot, but because he chooses not to retaliate. He lives like a stranger in a world where survival depends on winning and losing. And yet, Myshkin's very presence, a man who does not manipulate, does not lie, does not retaliate, acts as a mirror reflecting the rot within society. In that world, if you do not know how to play the role, you are discarded. If you don't hide your feelings, you're seen as a fool. If you love purely, you're deemed pathetic. And Myshkin, a man who dares to live unmasked, is crushed precisely because he refuses to disguise himself to survive. Dostoevsky does not paint an ideal world. He does not dream of a society where the good are rewarded. Instead, he constructs a bitter reality. Morality is no longer a weapon, it is a burden. And if you do not learn how to wield it with limits, you will be devoured. But on a deeper level, he also asks the reader an unspoken question. If living morally causes you to fall, will you still choose to hold on to your humanity? Or will you take the opposite path, become stronger, but lose yourself piece by piece? The answer is not easy. But it is this very hesitation that makes the idiot immortal. Conflicted souls and psychological wounds that never healed. Dostoevsky did not write The Idiot as a heroic tale of a good man among villains. He does not divide the world into black and white, but weaves a gray tapestry where every character is torn between reason and emotion, between the desire to be loved and the fear of being hurt. No one in this novel is perfect, all are unhealed souls, bearing old wounds, fresh traumas, and unresolved contradictions. Nastasia Filipovna is the clearest symbol of an abused soul. She no longer trusts anyone, not even herself. Manipulated and controlled since childhood as if she were a living toy. She learned to live through defiance, by destroying anything good that comes near. She mocks sincere affection, sabotages relationships that could save her, and condemns herself as someone unworthy of love. When Myshkin confesses his love, she does not feel joy, she feels terror. Because that love doesn't fit the self-destructive image she built in order to survive. Rogozin is the opposite. He loves Nastasia to the point of madness. But that love does not stem from understanding, it stems from obsession. He cannot bear the thought of her being with someone else, even if that person loves her in ways he cannot. Rogozin exemplifies a psyche that cannot control its emotions or itself. He loves to the point of murder, not out of hatred, but because he knows no other way to deal with the chaos inside him. Aglaya, who seems more rational, is no less conflicted. She both admires and resents Myshkin. She wants a man who knows how to react, to argue back, to get angry when insulted. But Myshkin does none of that. And that makes her feel as though she's in love with an unreachable ideal. She mocks him, provokes him, and then weeps in silence when she sees him choose another. These characters, in their own ways, reflect the complexity of real people, torn, conflicted, starved for love, and unable to express their feelings. They are not evil, in the simplistic sense, but tragically human. They need healing but reject the hand reaching out to them. They need love but fear it when it comes without punishment. Dostoevsky does not judge them, he simply lets them be. And that is what makes them unforgettable. Because we see ourselves in them, in uncertain relationships, in the fear of rejection, in the way we hurt others just because we ourselves have not yet healed. And through that, the idiot becomes a mirror, not to reflect others' weakness, but to confront our own unripe parts within. When freedom is only an illusion constructed by society. In The Idiot, freedom is not a privilege, it is an illusion. A dream built by society to make people believe they control their own lives. But Dostoevsky, with sober clarity, exposes the opposite. Most of what we call choices are in fact reactions, to desire, to the past, to pain, and to societal expectation. Take Rogozin, for example. He's wealthy, powerful, seemingly free to love and choose as he wishes. But his love is not freedom, it is addiction. He does not love Nastasia as a person, he loves her as something to possess completely. He cannot let go, cannot share her, cannot allow her to live her own life. And this obsession makes him a murderer. A man who thinks he's free to love, but is in fact imprisoned by his own emotions. Nastasia, too. She lives like an independent, strong, and charismatic woman. But all her actions, from scorning suitors to fleeing on her wedding day, stem from unhealed trauma. She does not act, she reacts. She doesn't reject Myshkin's love because she cannot feel it, but because she believes she is unworthy of it. Her past humiliation is a chain that drags her into repeated cycles of self-destruction. And so, she runs, again and again. Even characters who seem more grounded, like Aglaya or Lebedev, are not free from societal influence. They act according to what they think they should do, not what brings them peace. Aglaya wants a man who makes her feel safe, but society has taught her that safety means power. She cannot see the strength in Myshkin's calm. Because the world around her only values boldness, reaction, domination. Even Myshkin, the one who tries to escape all these structures, is not truly free. He is bound by his own absolute moral code. He cannot say no to helping others, cannot get angry, cannot resist. And this, while noble, makes him a slave of ideals. Dostoevsky is not pessimistic. He is simply honest. He shows us that freedom doesn't arrive on its own, it must be earned. Through awareness. If we do not understand what drives our behavior, desire, trauma, fear of abandonment, then every decision is merely the shadow of a script written long ago by our past and by society. And perhaps the most painful lesson the idiot leaves us with is this. Only when you realize you are not free can you begin the journey to become free. Not through rebellion, but by confronting the invisible chains within your own mind. Kindness doesn't save anyone, it only gets you crushed. The climax of tragedy in the idiot does not lie in a death, but in the internal collapse of a man who could not live against his own goodness. Prince Myshkin, after all his efforts to love, to understand, and to forgive, not only fails to save anyone, but is crushed by his very own kindness, returning to where he began, the sanatorium, in a state of total breakdown. Dostoevsky did not write Myshkin as an omnipotent saint. He wrote him as a holy fool, someone who dares to love without condition, who dares to forgive even the man who tried to kill him, who dares to speak the truth even when it will hurt. When Nastasia is murdered by Rogozin, the man who once threatened Myshkin's life, he does not get angry. He does not seek vengeance. Instead, he sits beside the killer, wipes his tears, and remains silent in a pain too deep for words. Myshkin doesn't collapse from betrayal. He collapses from realizing that kindness cannot change those who do not want to change. Love cannot save a soul still chained to the past. And forgiveness, however beautiful, is not enough to soften a world that does not wish to be healed. He brings purity to all, but in the end, he alone bears the consequences. Aglaya, the woman who once loved him, walks away in anger. Those who once praised him now fall silent. Rogozin, the murderer, is the last one beside him, not as a friend, but as a mirror of how utterly powerless kindness is in a world that resists redemption. Myshkin's story is not a lesson about being good so you will be rewarded. It is a wake-up call. Kindness cannot be infinite unless it comes with awareness, strength, and boundaries. Without these, it will turn you into a shadow, a pitiful symbol, rather than a source of light. And so, the idiot ends not with death, but with the quiet vanishing of a man who never learned how to hold on to himself while trying to hold the whole world. Do you have to be like Myshkin to be kind? After witnessing Prince Myshkin's painful journey, readers may feel helpless, if someone as purely good as him was destroyed. Does kindness even matter? But perhaps the right question is not, should we be like Myshkin, but rather, how do we remain kind without hurting ourselves? Myshkin represents a kind of absolute moral ideal, unconditional love, limitless forgiveness, no resistance to harm. But what Dostoevsky reveals is this. Being good does not mean abandoning yourself. Forgiveness does not mean allowing others to keep hurting you. Compassion does not mean silence in the face of injustice. And love should not be an excuse to carry someone else's pain on your shoulders. Myshkin is a symbol, not a model to be copied in everyday life. We can learn sincerity and compassion from him, but we need not live like him. Without boundaries, without protection, without choice. Because the real world is not a novel, and no matter how strong our heart is, it still needs to be protected. We live in an age where kindness is often mistaken for naivety, where gentleness is misread as weakness. But this does not mean we must become cynical, hardened, or numb. It only means this. Kindness must be paired with wisdom, a conscious, limited, and discerning kindness. We don't need to be as good as Myshkin. We only need to be good enough not to lose our humanity. And wise enough not to let that goodness become a burden. We can listen without enabling, help without sacrificing ourselves, love without forgetting our worth. And that is the kind of kindness that can survive in the real world, a sustainable kindness, born of inner strength, not guilt or a need to rescue others. A kindness that is not consumed, but stands its ground. In chaos, inner strength is the only shield. The world Dostoevsky builds in The Idiot is a maze of emotions where everyone is lost, some are consumed by love. Others flee from their pasts, some can no longer tell what is real and what is merely performance. In this labyrinth, kindness does not guide, morality does not save. And pure feelings only deepen the wounds. So what can help us not lose ourselves? The answer lies in inner strength, the quiet power that Myshkin lacked but that readers must cultivate. Myshkin lives by ideals, but he does not know how to protect them. He gives love without limits, but sets no boundaries. He forgives, but cannot tell the difference between being respected and being trampled. Lacking a solid core, he becomes a fragile leaf in a storm, easily swept away by the emotions of others, whether love, hatred, or instability. Inner strength is not coldness, numbness, or constant defense. It is the ability to manage emotions, stay true to values, and refuse to let the outside world define who you are. A person with inner strength knows when to give and when to hold back. They can love deeply, but also walk away when harmed. They do not lose faith in humanity, but they do not blindly accept toxicity. Aglaya could not love Myshkin, in part because she saw him as too weak. But what she could not say aloud was this: she needed someone who could remain grounded, both emotionally and morally. Someone who could love her, but not dissolve because of her. Someone not completely consumed by others' emotions. And that is what each of us must learn in real life. Not to become hard, but to develop a core strong enough not to fall apart when everything around us spins into chaos. Inner strength does not come from avoiding pain, but from facing it, from learning how to rise after each fall. Myshkin is the image of a beautiful heart without armor. But we, if we want to live kindly in a world that isn't kind, must learn how to keep our softness within, while also building an outer layer strong enough to prevent any storm from washing away who we truly are. Finding meaning through brokenness. To many, the ending of The Idiot feels cloaked in despair. Nastasia is dead, Rogozin becomes a murderer, and Myshkin returns to the sanatorium nearly mad. A circle of suffering seems to close with no light in sight. But to stop there is to miss the most profound truth Dostoevsky tries to leave behind. Meaning in life does not lie in avoiding pain, but in how we face and transcend it. Prince Myshkin saves no one. But the question is not, did he succeed or fail? It is, what do we learn from his collapse? Perhaps it is precisely when all ideals are shattered, when all dreams are unmet, and when every belief is tested to the extreme, that the meaning of life reveals itself most clearly. Not in the light of victory, but in the darkness of truth. Viktor Frankl, a psychologist and Holocaust survivor, wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And that is where meaning begins." Myshkin could not change others. He could not heal Nastasia or save Rogozin. But he lived true to his essence, without hatred, without revenge, without becoming part of the chaos. And even though it broke him, it was the final meaningful choice he still held. For us, those living in a world that often feels meaningless, exhausting, and broken, the lesson is not to strive to be as perfect as Myshkin, but to dare ask, what am I living for? Am I reacting out of social habit, or living by what truly matters to me? Meaning in life is not some grand ideal. It can begin with choosing not to repay hate with hate. In choosing to keep our gentleness, even when the world is full of thorns. In daring to look into the chaos within ourselves and not turning away. And from there, step by step, turning suffering into awakening. The Idiot is not a promise of reward for being good. It is a reminder that living kindly is a lonely journey, but not a meaningless one. And sometimes, it is through the breaking that we find what is most sacred, a new self, stronger, more self-aware, and more at peace in a turbulent world. The journey of preserving our humanity in a lost world. Dostoevsky did not write The Idiot to glorify a perfect man, nor to condemn a flawed world. He gave us a mirror, reflecting the most beautiful and fragile parts of the human soul. Prince Myshkin is not a hero. He is a reminder of the values we've forgotten. Compassion, forgiveness, and the purity of a soul untouched by the world's harshness. We don't need to become Myshkin to live rightly. But we must learn one thing from him. Being human does not mean defeating others, but not losing the deepest part of ourselves in the process of facing life. And to do that, we need more than kindness, we need awareness, inner mastery. And a resilient will to hold on to our humanity in the face of self-destruction or indifference. In a society that celebrates sharpness, quick reactions, material success, and inflated egos. Preserving gentleness, sincerity, and morality is not weakness, it is a radical act. Because in the depths of chaos, it is the souls that still hold hope that become the seeds of a healthier world. And perhaps, in some quiet moment, it will be you, with your clarity, your boundaried kindness, and your unshaken heart, who becomes exactly what the world needs. Not to save everyone, but simply to remind us all, there are still those who choose to live rightly, even when no one sees. And that, sometimes, is enough.